Good evening everyone, my name is Crystal. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Tonight it's wet and raining and cold, and we've had this wet cold spell for a few days now, and it wreaks havoc on your mental health. It does. You know, there's nothing much you can do when it's raining. You have to keep the windows and the door shut, obviously, and it can make isolation feel even worse. I do feel isolated. I think I am isolating myself so that I don't get into these encounters with people that I don't want to get into. I know that I'm isolating myself. I do know that. But it's not going to do any harm just to keep away from trouble for a bit. So it did upset me that nobody bothered to get back to me, and apparently I miss calls and don't answer them, but I didn't hear the phone go off, so I've gone into my phone settings and made sure that the ringtone is loud so that I hear it. I do have problem with my right ear. I think there's damage to it, nerve damage, and it you know, I get face pain as well. So I've tried to explain what the problem was, and that now I will definitely hear the phone going off. I will hear it. So what I first want to show you is, right, this isn't a lot. This is a couple of pounds. This is hardly anything. I ran out of coffee. Didn't feel like going up the road with just like £3. So I picked up some tropical cooler, fruit blends, Twinings, pineapple tea bags, caffeine free, zingy tropical notes. It says it's best sit chilled, but I'm going to try that probably tomorrow morning. I just ran out of coffee. I do like my cup of coffee. That's making me miserable as well. But everything has gone up. It has. It's gone up to extortionate levels. £20 and you've got 4 items. I mean, I looked at trying to get a ready meal for one. Tesco's wanted £5 for a single ready meal for one person. What can you do? So I'm going to try these. This just came to a couple of pounds. It's still got by appointment to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II on here. It has. So just 20 bags, that's why they're cheap. And just as a snack, and I'm not going to eat them all in one day. I've had a taster of them, about 3 or 4 of them. Very nice they taste too. They're actually more cheesy tasting than they are in the Co-op. When I get the Pringles from the Co-op, they taste stale and not very cheesy, but these are really cheesy. They're nice taste. So the delivery guy didn't ring the buzzer, and I'm grateful for that. I'm not complaining. And I went downstairs and my parcel was next to another parcel. I picked my parcel up and I went up in the lift and took it up the stairs. It smells of cigarette smoke downstairs. Cigarette smoke. I can't stand cigarette smoke mixed with strong fragrant perfume. This is what happens when you share a communal building. If I had a place of my own, and I think everybody does wish that in effect, then I wouldn't breathe in this shit, which is causing havoc on my lungs and making me feel extremely ill. But beggars can't be choosers, so I just, unless I have got face masks, it does mean that I'm going to have to start going outside my front door with a face mask on, because I don't want to breathe that into my lungs. It's harmful. I can't stop it getting into my eyes, but I can stop it going down my nose and throat. I came back indoors and I tried to calm myself down, because I get wound up and stressed over stupid things because I've had such a shitty day. What wouldn't annoy somebody else annoys me, because I've been stuck indoors with no human contact and nothing to cheer me up. I've spoken to my mum twice. I think she rang before I took Max out this evening. So I just had, I've just been drinking fruit juice. I've run out of coffee, so I had fruit juice. And I tried some pineapple as well. Pineapple chunks are nice. If you don't want to eat too many sweet things, pineapple is nice without all the sugar. But I do miss my coffee, but I feel better without it. So I put the television on, and I watched a bit of telly. I've been listening to the radio, and I couldn't shake the feeling of, like, what the fuck is going on? I can't get through to anybody on the phone. I can't get through. I can't get a real person. I'm talking to people on, TikTok that just want me to go over to Zangy and Telegram. I've got somebody telling me they love me, they don't even know me. It's frightening as well. I don't know what to expect anymore when I go outside. I just deal with it as it happens. I just stand still, I walk, and I try not to get stressed out, because it stresses Max out as well. He gets irritated and agitated when I feel anxious. So when it gets towards 10 to 7, I get ready, I put my coat on, my beanie, and I grabbed my umbrella today. Grabbed it because it was coming down slightly worse than it was when I went out this afternoon. So I grabbed my umbrella, went out down the stairs, and I went out of the back of the building, and there was cars parked with their lights on, and I just have to be careful. Turn round, and I walked the same way I walked last night, and this time there were women behind me, 2 females, and the crane lights weren't on. Normally the blue crane is lit up in a nice blue colour. The lights were all off, so it was in complete darkness. It didn't look very cheerful at all. I started to feel not scared, but you're walking around in pitch black with hooded characters. You can't see their faces. I'm dripping wet with rain. I'm trying to hold an umbrella, keep control of my dog, but also keep my camera on in case there's anything suspicious. And my hand was freezing to the phone, and I just kept going with this rain falling everywhere on me, trying to watch Max. And there was a woman just stood, like in the pathway, in a black hooded coat. You could hardly see her. And then there was another woman with a black hooded coat that started walking behind my back. And when I walked away from her and Max barked, she started coughing. And it's just sudden coughing. It's not as if they've got a cough and they're coughing like a normal cough. This is on purpose coughing. And I've actually fallen over when someone's done that really near me. I've fallen over. Now, before I left the flat, I don't know whether it was heartburn. I don't know whether it was something to do with the guy that messed with the gas in the he left it on for a bit, and he messed around with the controls, and he went out to the controller in my hallway and messed around with that. I had this really weird sensation before I left the flat, and it was like a tingling sensation up from my ribs, across my back and down my arms. And I thought, oh my God, what's going on? And for about 30 seconds, I wouldn't have been able to lift anything. I wouldn't have been able to lift anything up. It was this funny sensation. I couldn't say it was a pain. It was like something was crawling up my back, right over my shoulders, down to my hands. And for 30 seconds, my hands were like this, and I couldn't move them. And I thought, what the fucking hell is going on here? I have had a bit of a backache all day, and I'm not being funny, but these are heavy. My chest is heavy, and it's like carrying about 2 really heavy bags of baked potatoes, and it drags me down. So I don't know if it's to do with that. It was a really weird sensation. I don't ever want that again. I just eaten some of the Maltesers my mum gave me. She gave me a bag of these Maltesers. I don't know where my mum got them from, but she told me to choose a couple of bags of sweets. So I just eaten about 5 of these Maltesers as well. I don't know what it was. This sensation all over my body. I've thought maybe it's the smart meter, because I've been getting pains in the bottoms of my feet. I'm going through the menopause as well. I don't know what this is. For 3 days in a row, I've had pains in my big toes, massive pains in my big toes. Now I'm in sharp, agonising pain in my big toes. I hate smart meters. I didn't want one. I never wanted a smart meter, and I've heard about all these people suffering pain and unexplained things with smart meters, and then I thought, is it their cigarettes they're smoking next door? What are they smoking? It's awful. It went up my nose and started, their fag smoke went up my nose, started tingling up my nostrils, down here and the back, down my throat. What are people smoking? It smells like poison. Why would you smoke that shit? It must be peeling their throat off. I only have to inhale smoke, and I'm sensitive to smells. And my nose for this past 3 days as well, while I've smelt their smoke down the corridor and downstairs, has been tingling my nose. Anyway, so I've showed you my bits. I've come back from a walk, and I'm just taking things as they come. I don't know what's going on. I'm not being experimented on in hospital. I went down my Facebook this morning and got reminded of the blood transfusion and what a state I looked after the COVID jab. They're trying to make me sick. You know, because all you get when you go to hospital, hello Crystal, how are you? The devil's in the works, isn't he? Alexa, LBC Radio.
LBC London from Global Player.
I have not wished my constituents to die before the next general election. That is, you can check.
Okay. All right, I believe you. Phil?
I'm just very disappointed in it. I mean, particularly in the Labour Party, where there were problems of anti-Semitism just a few years ago, and to see these anti-Semitic, racist, homophobic, bigoted remarks is just really disappointing. What is reassuring a bit is the speed with which the party has dealt with it, the speed the government took the whip away, has removed Andrew Gwynn as a minister, which is, I think, unfortunately the right sanction. It had to be that way. I disagree slightly. I think there was this pledge to be better and to do things differently, and actually you've seen the Prime Minister do just that this occasion. It's disappointing that not everyone in the people in the party needed to hear the message again, but I think they've heard it.
Something that no one seems to be talking about with this as well, though, is that from a health perspective, with Andrew Gwynn as the health minister, he has had 7 months where he has been meeting with charities, various sectors within health. He has a role to play within the health and social care area. You're now going to have charities, organisations up and down the country incredibly frustrated because they have been briefing Andrew, making sure that he knows everything he needs to know about the state of affairs, just to have to start again. And that is so frustrating for those working in that health space. So any minister that has the responsibility of not just upholding public office and representing their constituents, they also have a brief and a portfolio that they need to be across, and they need to behave as impeccably as possible to make sure that they hold that brief, because they are holding the nation's health in their hands.
I think there is a question about standards here, though, because, you know, you use the phrase impeccable. Nobody can be perfect, nobody can be impeccable. And I think part of Ian's question and indeed George's question was about whether you can cut people in public life some slack. And we've seen a lot of people in public life suffering as a consequence of people holding them to standards that cannot be met. The question is, where do you draw the line? And, as I say, there's an investigation. Philip's talked about anti-Semitic remarks and what that actually means, and whether the intention of this language was meant to be public or not. Is this a question of pressure and somebody not being able to deal with the pressure and then just trying to let off some steam? One would argue whether this is the right way to do it or whether this is a sensible way to do it. But it does force us to ask ourselves questions about what sort of standards are we asking people to uphold, and are they realistic? And that's kind of what comes down the track, depending on what Andrew Gwynn's defence is going to be as well. I'm sort of less concerned with the way that the Prime Minister's acted in relation to this, because, of course, withdrawing the whip and his investigation continuing is the right thing to happen. But the wider question for me is, what are standards and what are our expectations for people in public life?
I think it's interesting that Oliver Ryan, this 29-year-old MP for Burnley, who's gay himself, is accused of being homophobic. I mean, because I read the comments that he had made, and I wasn't offended by them. Sometimes I just think people are looking to be offended.
I don't know about that. I think we asked rightly, what are the standards we should expect? I think we expect above this standard for sure, and the coarseness of conversation about protected characteristic minorities, about their own constituents, about the people, the public that they serve, does not suggest the right intention, the right gravity to the public that is being served. I think that's disappointing, but it's right that the government has taken quick and swift action.
If the Standards Committee finds that he didn't do anything wrong, let's just say that as an assumption, would we be happy to see him back in public life?
Well, he is in public life.
But I mean, in terms of front bench and in terms of a prominent position in public life.
See, I think Andrew Gwynn, his career is over. Oliver Ryan, I don't think so. I think he can work his passage back, but I don't think there's any And then Jerome, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. So I'm trying to leave the political party side out of it just for a moment for this conversation. And Summer, you're right. I mean, we're not perfect. We say stupid things. We particularly often say stupid things to friends where we think we're in a private environment, and somebody leaked this. One of his friends leaked it, and with friends like that, who needs enemies, frankly? But then there comes a point where you say, actually, this is just not right, what you said. And if I'd like to think that if I'd been on that WhatsApp group, I'd have picked it up and said no. So yeah,
have you ever seen that? I mean, I'm not asking you to breach any confidences here, but have either of you ever seen that in your own WhatsApp groups where somebody has said something either outrageous or insulting, and then another MP has come back and said, "Hang on a second."
Yes, this happens. But
who was it?
It tends to be around policy type decisions or suggestions, and you go, no, that's going too far, or you haven't thought this through properly. But yeah, I think we're so alive now in modern political life that we keep on reminding ourselves that whatever you put in a WhatsApp group, you've got to expect to be on the front page of the newspaper, and if you don't want to read it in the front page of the newspaper, you should not be writing it.
Well, shall I read out a WhatsApp message that's come in while we've been talking? Because I think it does actually, in some ways, sum it up. From Steve, who in Manchester, who says, Ian, you're conflating morals with professionalism. Did he really mean it all? Is he morally bankrupt? Almost certainly not. Was it unprofessional to a major degree? Yes, absolutely. He was a government minister. Professionalism is on the side of the tin. He blew it. And that kind of sums it up, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that's right, yeah.
In which case, we can go to a break and we'll answer more questions in just a moment. It's 8:15.
This is LBC.
This week, LBC will explore how you can take control of your well-being and tackle minor health concerns with ease. Thanks to Boots, LBC is being joined by one of their pharmacists, who is sharing practical tips to help with your well-being during the winter months, as well as ways to support your heart health. That's all this week. Your Boots pharmacist will see you now. LBC.
This is 40-year-old Kathy, mother of two and self-confessed telly addict.